All right, everybody, welcome back to the next edition of the Three Guys, One Mic podcast. I'm your host, Mark. Sitting to my left, looking fly in his workout shorts and nice trucker hat. Always looking good as usual, is my guy, Kody. How are you doing, Kody?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I have a Life Water here. It's pH balanced, so it's that good quality stuff. I was expecting Dasani. I got Life Water. Life Water, pH balanced.
You know, we'll get to that a little bit later, but we also have a very special episode for you guys. This is our episode 3 Kenobi review. We have two special guests. Everyone give a round of applause for our new producer, Jacob. Everyone.
Okay. I'm just here to take it to the next level, guys. That's all I'm here for.
The living meme of our podcast, and he will probably end up being that. Thank you for being here with us. And then to our right, we have another guy who is a good friend of mine. Worked with him for probably about a year now, a little bit over a year. He's really interested in Star Wars, wants to talk about it. It's our guy, Reed. So everyone, please give him a round of applause for being on here.
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we have two extra guys here. So again, we have failed in our mission of 3 guys, 1 mic. It is 4 guys, 1 mic. Once again, just like our second episode for all you longtime listeners. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go into the comments. Let us know what kind of content you want to see, listen to. We might be trying some video stuff pretty soon, so please let us know. And don't forget to share with your friends. It's always a good time. Like I like to say, it's the podcast that you didn't know you needed. Anyways, we're going to move into this. Kody, Reed, Jacob, I would call this, obviously the midpoint of Kenobi happened this past week with episode 3. Hard to believe we're already halfway through the limited time series already. And I would say, like, I'm not going to say it's the climax, but it is a climax of the episode. So for all of you listeners who don't know, this episode has Obi-Wan Kenobi traveling with Leia. They're going through, obviously, spoilers ahead. I should probably mention that to start. So we have Obi-Wan Kenobi traveling with Leia, trying to get her back to Alderaan, and we're kind of going through this planet, and it's almost like a tale of 2 episodes. We'll probably just stick to the first part of the episode right now, with Obi-Wan and Leia just going on this planet, trying to get back to Alderaan. They get lost. They're supposed to make a contact with somebody, they don't know who it is, to get a ship basically and get off this random planet they're on. And they do that, and they run into some Imperials, and they have a little scuffle with that. And then basically that's kind of the gist of it, them interacting with Imperials, and then they get kind of saved by the contact. But Kody, I want to open this up to you. What did you think about like the first half of the episode of like Kenobi and Leia, kind of them building a relationship and them dealing with just normal everyday like Imperial stormtroopers and just citizens?
I actually kind of like that. I kind of like this fatherly figure that Obi-Wan kind of took on again. That we kind of saw in in the Clone Wars, where he was kind of the father figure to Anakin. He was, very cannot think of the word, very mentorish to Leia almost. But I did actually I liked it a lot. Leia was still annoying, kind of keeping up that character that she started off in the first couple episodes. I am curious though. I remember you said you didn't want to see Leia in this third episode.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to see Leia in this third episode, but I mean, it kind of salvaged itself by being almost like 2 separate episodes.
Right.
In one.
So like you felt like it actually worked pretty well. Then,
I do, because if they had made the whole episode focused on just kind of their little side quest, it almost would have been. It felt like they were dragging it out a little bit too long.
Too much, right?
Right. But they didn't do that, so I kind of agree with you. I like the relationship building. I like how he's still dealing with thoughts of self doubt and hopelessness. I mean, you see in the episode, you see him looking and he sees Anakin in the distance. Obviously not a force vision or anything, just like a hallucination, and just he's kind of still dealing with his failure, and his lack of faith in people is on display in the episode. Where like this contact that he was told to meet on this planet just like wasn't there at the moment they were there, and he just doubted immediately.
Immediate trust.
And so you can see kind of like the deterioration of this character. I thought it was handled really well. It wasn't in a disrespectful way. It was a very believable way. But
I really like the distraught you could see in his face as he looked at Leia when he thought about her mother.
Yeah,
that was really great.
Yeah.
The way Ewan McGregor was able to play that off. So I guess let's open it to you guys. Reed, do you want to start off? How did this episode feel to you? This first half.
Well, I don't know if it's because I'm getting used to the Leia character that kind of pissed me off the first 2 episodes, or because they did kind of isolate it to the first half, like you were talking about. But she didn't bother me so much this time,
Right.
and I was able to a lot more focus on, like you're talking about, like Obi-Wan's like getting used to this big revelation that he's just had about Anakin, and I think that's also sparking these feelings with him towards Leia, because that's like fresh in his mind, you know.
Right.
And of course, we love Obi-Wan because of that mentor vibe that he's always put off, And I just love seeing that on full blast here in this episode. It is interesting them interacting with the stormtroopers, because he's kind of trying to walk this tightrope of like, do I like just go full Jedi again or not? You know what I mean? And I mean, the second half of the episode kind of talks a little more about that, but I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Well, kind of thinking about the show, why do people watch the show Obi-Wan? It's so they can get a look at Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, right? That's kind of the point of the show. This is the story of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader before episode 4. And which is why I agree with Mark in the sense that I didn't really want the Leia story to continue this far, but I saw the Leia arc more of a catalyst to get to the Darth Vader, which it has been in this episode. We see that it sort of leads to the spoiler for future of the podcast, to the reveal of Darth Vader in the show, really. And but I don't want them to continue with it too long, because this show is about Obi-Wan and it's about Darth Vader. It's not a show about Leia. I mean, it's in the trailers. It's literally like the cover picture for the show on Disney Plus. You see a picture of Vader with his lightsaber and Obi-Wan in this sense. It's about the relationship between these two, because these are two characters that everyone is so invested in. Fans of the prequels, fans of the Clone Wars. You see this relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. That's what we're here to see. So I like the Leia arc, but I do hope that it doesn't continue much longer. But the first part of the episode also included probably the best character in Star Wars history, of course, Freck the Mole Man.
The MAGA Mole Man. Nothing wrong with a little law and order.
No, it's great to meet some like-minded folk. So kind of building off of what you said, Jacob, I mean, I'm kind of fearing going forward that we are going to kind of keep continuing with the Leia side mission, and now I'm kind of seeing it. We can talk about it a little bit more later, but I'm seeing that the Leia kind of side quest and Reva are going to be all in one, and I'm kind of like afraid that Leia is going to be used to develop Reva, and I don't want to see that, obviously. No. I want to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and their kind of relationship, and kind of how they've changed, because these are, like, when you think about it, they're different characters than we saw them in Revenge of the Sith. Anakin is way different now than he was in Revenge of the Sith, and so is Obi-Wan. They're just different, and we need to explore that more. I don't want to see these side characters really take over the show. It's starting to feel very Boba Fett-y to me, Boba Fett-y, like Boba Fett-y. But I don't want to see that, and so that's where I think it's going. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about the first half of the episode? I know it's like half of it, but I don't think it's the part that we're as interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the stormtrooper getting cut in half was kind of a little.
That was like an introduction, a little small introduction of what this episode really was able to give to us, actually. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. I think, that was a good, this was coming.
Honestly,
ready, guys.
And Disney's very afraid to do anything like that most of the time.
I know.
My fear is that, they'll do something like that and then tone it way back and then never do it again, you know what I mean?
Like, we tried it.
We tried it, you got your gore, you filthy animals, and then we just won't say anything cool like that again. But, okay, awesome. Yeah. Let's move on to the next part of the episode, which is pretty much why everyone's here, why everyone is watching Obi-Wan. The confrontation between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And let me just set this up a little bit. So basically Obi-Wan and Leia are saved by their contact after, the stormtroopers kind of figure out there's something sus about them. But before that happens, Darth Vader and the Inquisitors are alerted to something weird going on this specific planet they're on. I can't even remember the name of it.
Me neither.
Right? It's just not very memorable of a planet. But
Wyoming.
Yeah.
yeah.
Space Wyoming.
That was it.
But they're alerted, and then they're saved. They get taken to this village, and basically they're in this little hideout with this, ex-Imperial officer turned rebel. Like, not rebel, because that's not around yet, but, sympathetic towards, I guess people who are don't like the Empire, something like that. It's kind of ambiguous. But then they're put in this hideout, and as they're about to leave in this hideout, there's this like secret tunnel entrance. It's nightfall. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You're not the first one to say that in our group, but I heard it when we were watching the episode together. Stupid. And really, like, the heavy hitting emotional moment is Obi-Wan looks outside when it's dark because he feels something.
Mhm.
And that's when you get it. You see the Inquisitors coming in, and you see the big man himself, all 6'8" of him walking in his dark garb, in the dark into view. And you see Obi-Wan, the fear in his eyes, and you see like kind of their whole reveal of Darth Vader. And how do you think how do you think they handled that first time Obi-Wan saw Vader after Revenge of the Sith, being in the suit for the first time? What do you think about that whole thing?
Oh man. Again, props to Ewan McGregor. He's a phenomenal actor. The way he played it off, it almost seemed like PTSD was just running through his mind. Like it looked like he couldn't even breathe from the feeling in the Force revelation, or just the presence of that Force of Darth Vader just being there was phenomenal. I love the way they played that off. It was great. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, and like the way like you could tell Obi-Wan couldn't look away either.
Yeah.
He's like petrified.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my gosh, this guy's still here, and look what he is. Look what
Yeah.
Probably those feelings of like, did I do this to him? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, these feelings of guilt going along with it, just all this stuff. And you're right, Ewan McGregor, phenomenal actor. You can read it on his face. He's not even saying anything,
No.
and you can read it all. I love him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it was almost like the feeling I got when he saw Vader for the first time. It literally was like when your parents are looking at something like that they don't want to expose the kids to, because he was like staring at it and Leia's like, "What's going on?" He's like, No. And then he's still looking. He's like, "You can't look, but I have to, I can't stop." It's like that was done just perfectly, I think, because like that was such an emotionally like impactful moment for Obi-Wan and his character development in his life. I mean, seeing essentially his brother, as he called him, be something completely opposite of what he trained him to be, this Jedi, but also just not even like human anymore, this machine.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really
And
interesting.
I mean, and not just that, but just the fact that he hasn't seen him in 10 years. We're talking about his brother, his greatest failure, whatever you want to call him, after their super passionate fight on Mustafar. And Obi-Wan leaves him for dead because he just can't kill him right then and there, because it's just so much. And not knowing that not only he's alive, but been running the Empire pretty much, and to just the reveal of just all that realization at once coming in at him at this one moment, and it's right in his eyes. Like, it was one thing for Reva to reveal it in that one warehouse area in episode 2.
Yeah.
But for him now to actually see it, you really feel the emotion. You really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was just a really great moment. I think we've beaten the scene to death.
I mean, there's just so much to
But
analyze
it
just
is-
from this little introduction
Oh, yeah.
part.
But
it's
it
kind of
is
crazy.
It is done very well. And like the cool thing is Vader feels it too, because obviously he wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And then we get into the really cool scenes where I might have a little controversial opinion on this,
Oh, no.
but like where he goes, not like Sam, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Where Vader feels Obi-Wan, he knows he's there. He's like ordered his Inquisitors to not move. This is Vader's time, and then he's walking down this I like how they made it super narrow, the set piece, so it's like a house maybe on either side, and maybe 8 feet probably between them on either side of the street.
Yeah.
And he's walking through this sandy path, and as he's walking, he feels Obi-Wan, turns to a villager, and he just starts force choking this guy. And kind of like trying to bait Obi-Wan out to do something, kind of like the Inquisitors say in the first episode. It's like an itch you can't scratch. You got to help people.
Yeah.
And then he's choking this guy, and then this kid runs out to kind of see his dad, and he snaps this kid. He didn't even think about it.
Boom.
Kid's dead.
Lights out.
And then he keeps walking. I didn't understand the dragging thing where he was dragging that one lady through the sand. That one was kind of a little lame to me.
Yeah, I just feel like he knew Obi-Wan was there, and he just wanted to taunt him. I think he just wanted to show him, like, hey, this is what I am now, and this is your fault.
Yeah.
Look what I can do now. Look what you're making me do, because you won't come out here. That kind of thing. Like, he's just trying to guilt him more just by pretty much being a douche.
Yeah.
To all these people in this village.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's like dragging this chick through the sand just to drag a chick through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sand, you know? I mean, like, he's getting, like, almost petty with Obi-Wan. He's like, you know, he didn't kill her, I don't think, or anything.
I don't think so.
But he's just like, I'm going to start, you know, wrecking stuff up
Yeah,
because I know
yeah.
you're here,
Well,
you know?
I don't know about dragging a lady through the sand, being wrecking stuff up, but like I like kind of what you said, Cody. It's very consistent with his character when you think about Anakin Skywalker and how, like, especially in Episode 2, where he's like complaining to Padme, he's like, Obi-Wan's holding me back, it's his fault.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even through all this and all of his own actions and what he's done, he still doesn't realize like it's not Obi-Wan's fault, it's his fault. You know what I mean? Like there were failings obviously along the way, but he kind of like still not, you know, taking responsibility for anything that he's done. I think that's actually kind of a really interesting point, like to bring up there.
I think so too. I couldn't agree more with what Cody was saying. I think because one of the parts that confused me a little bit in this show, that we can get to a little later, but it was that Darth Vader was walking through the streets, and you know, Obi-Wan's looking at him from this little door. And later in the episode, Reva pretty much finds that door right away. But what confused me was just sort of like, why doesn't Darth Vader just notice it right away? But then it got me thinking to pretty much what Cody was thinking. He definitely knew he was there. And this was just a show to be like, I am not Anakin Skywalker anymore. I am Darth Vader, you know?
And the way he like whips his head around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen him move that fast. You know what I mean?
Honestly.
Like he knew, you know.
Like kind of just an off like comment on that remark with the thing you noticed. I don't know if you noticed this, but the way that like when he whips his head around, you can kind of see like the mask kind of like jolt a little bit and then stop. You know, like very robotic, and it's just the way that it was
I didn't
captured.
notice that.
Because
That's
like
interesting.
when you like whip something around that's super heavy, you know, it doesn't just stop immediately. It
Yeah.
kind of like has a little bit of movement to it, so he kind of like whips, and you can kind of, and it's just like really good indication of like this guy's a machine now. Like you know, he's
Interesting.
very like he's obviously, and it, you know, in a deeper level, he's like obviously carrying heavy baggage, not just physically but emotionally as well. So I thought that was really well done.
I was also thinking, going back to a point you made, Mark, about how you could see some Anakin in this Darth Vader. That's something that I'm like looking for in this show. You know, because I don't. This is bridging the gap, you know, between the original movies and the prequels, and I'm like, I want to see some Anakin in Darth Vader. Obviously, he's Darth Vader now, you know, not Anakin anymore. But that's still the same guy, and I like when I can see, oh, you know, I can see Anakin in this action or this, you know, what he's doing.
Right. No, I agree with that. And that kind of like, this is a good segue into kind of a little bit further on in the episode. Because basically, Vader kind of senses Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan gets out of town basically to lead Vader away from people and Leia and all that good stuff, and leaves Leia with the ex-Imperial lady to take her to Alderaan. He's like, I'm just going to drag Vader away. And it's their confrontation. They're out there in like the sand dunes by themselves, and kind of to your point, you want to see Anakin. Obi-Wan, one of the first things he says when they, you know, they confront each other, they see each other, he says, look what you've become. And what does Vader say? I am what you made me. You know, and that's fundamentally like almost different than the Darth Vader we understand in the original trilogy. The original trilogy, Darth Vader is a completely different person than this Vader. Even a decade later, he still kind of is holding on to that Anakin part of him. And I kind of really like to see, you know, there's a transition period obviously for him, because like in the original trilogy, Vader says like Anakin Skywalker is dead. He's not alive anymore. But here you can kind of see a little bit of that life of Anakin Skywalker. So it's obviously a fresh wound for him.
Well, that's a process he's going through himself. He's trying to kill Anakin himself. Darth Vader is trying to kill off what remnant of Anakin still remains in him. You know what I mean? So that's a process he's going through mentally too.
It's kind of interesting. I'm sorry to like dominate the conversation about this, but it's interesting to see like Anakin and Obi-Wan be foils of each other right now, because Anakin is trying to like kill himself off, like, or Vader's trying to kill Anakin off, and Ben Kenobi's kind of trying to kill Obi-Wan off. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is so trope. Yeah, it's poetry, right? Word to George Lucas. But like you can see like they're going in different directions. Obviously Obi-Wan's the good guy. He's never going to be evil, but like they were kind of like at this point where they were together at one point, and then they just like turned around and went different directions, but did almost like very similar things, you know, in their lives, in their progression. That's how traumatic it was for them, and you know how altering this was for them. So
yeah, I didn't think about that. How Obi-Wan's also kind of trying to end his past self, too, you know,
and he's kind of like coming to life a little bit more here and there, but anyway, so that was interesting. Then we get the confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader, and I just want to say, just on a cinematography note, the dark lighting works so well. The lightsabers
Oh
were
my
so
gosh.
crisp.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I have never seen a
Man.
lightsaber look so good.
Beautiful.
Like it's better than obviously Revenge of the Sith.
Oh,
Like the way
yeah,
they
yeah.
look. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And this is just a TV show, and obviously it's high production, high budget TV show.
Of course.
But like in the night, like Obi-Wan's blue lightsaber in particular, the way it was like illuminating everything
Beautiful.
around him and just making him blue, that was beautiful. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
same with like Vader's red. So
Turned it to a horror movie.
Right.
It was
Honestly,
great.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
great.
it really did. But anyways, Jacob or Cody, one of you, do you guys want to talk about kind of how that fight between Obi-Wan and Vader went? Your thoughts on that? Like when they've actually confronted?
Well, I think it was done so well because the one thing that I was thinking going into this show was just that on their first encounter, Obi-Wan, this totally broken character right now, he's got to lose
Oh,
to
yeah.
Darth Vader
Oh, yeah.
easy because
Right.
Darth Vader is like the most powerful guy in the galaxy right now. He would whoop him, and
He's
that's
hunting
exactly
Jedi. Like that's
pretty much
literally
what
what
they
he's
did.
doing.
Like, and I loved it because Darth Vader could have killed Obi-Wan right away, of
Mhm.
course, easy.
Mhm.
But at first, he's sort of testing Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
They get into a fight, and it's less of a fight and more of Obi-Wan just trying to survive because it's the first time Obi-Wan pulls out his lightsaber in 10 years, turns it on, that is,
Right.
and Darth Vader's literally fighting him with one hand, just sort of knocking him to the ground, and Obi-Wan's crawling. I love this part. He's crawling on the ground to get away from Vader, using two hands, holding his lightsaber, just trying to live.
Mhm.
And Darth Vader at this point, he's realizing how weak he's gotten, and he's just sort of toying with him, like,
Mhm.
yeah, this is how weak you are. This is me standing over you. This is how strong I am compared to you. And of course he could have killed him, but he didn't. Because why? You're talking 10 years of just hatred built up within Darth Vader. He's going to make this guy suffer, you know?
Right. you
He's
can't
gonna
just
make him suffer.
Make it easy for him, right?
Exactly.
And
No
also-
easy way out.
And also, do you think this is probably just justification for Vader for what he did? Like further just solidifying him going to the dark side because obviously he's more powerful than Obi-Wan at this point. I bet this is just confirmation. This is just a good time for Vader.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
He's been
yeah.
waiting 10 years to do this to Obi, but also he's like, you know what? I might have made the right decision here. I went to the dark side, and now I'm more powerful than the great
Uh-huh.
Obi-Wan
Oh,
who beat
yeah.
me. You know, when it's fresh in the dark side. I think it's just really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's I think my favorite scene is near the end, nearing the end of the episode where he pretty much ignites this giant bonfire on the
Oh, no.
ground.
Yeah.
And he drags my man Obi-Wan through the flames. How petty can you be?
Oh,
10
yeah.
years. He's probably thinking about ways he can just like make this guy pay. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna do what he did to me.
Exactly.
Mine is cutting off his limbs. Like he drags him through the flames.
Mm.
I think that was just great.
Beautiful. It's poetry, right?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's horrible, to see everyone kind of go through that pain. You feel for him, but at the same time, like, man, that is the pure high level of pettiness right there.
Well, like, I just want to, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to interject here, like, just to kind of build off of your point. I don't know if you know this lore-wise, but Darth Vader, the castle he built on Mustafar,
Mhm.
it's literally right next to the spot where Obi-Wan did that to him. So you can imagine him just, like, there, in his castle regularly for 10 years, looking at that spot where he was
Same
burning.
spot.
That's probably at the forefront
Oh,
of his
yeah.
mind. He's like, this is what he did to me. Exactly this, and I'm going to get my revenge, do exactly what he did to me. And I wish, like, you could talk about, like, the CG. I wish maybe Obi-Wan could have burned more because it didn't look like he was, like, on fire. But then he
that
couldn't
was
have been
really
too
good.
much on fire because, like, lore and breaking, but
Right.
but obviously it was a really cool moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and then like credit to the directors, the way Ewan McGregor is crawling through the fire, screaming. He looked just like Anakin in
Mhm.
Revenge of the Sith. To almost like they were yelling the same way. You know what I mean? The camera angle was the same. I was like almost getting chills just the way I'm like, it's bringing me back to my childhood. I love that movie so much, and just the way that they've tapped into that. They know like this is good. This is kind of the sequel to Revenge of the Sith in
Right.
a way, especially this episode.
Right.
The way they filmed that was extraordinary. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't help but think while watching Obi-Wan burn was just, I hate
Yeah.
you!
Well,
Yeah.
And I think you have a point with like the screaming. It was very similar to Hayden Christensen getting burned by the lava. So yeah, it was very much a parallelism
I'm sure.
of Revenge of the Sith. So
Yeah.
I do like that scene a lot too.
My one thing about that scene, that whole like gravel pit thing, it was a little weird to me how like Obi-Wan was just kind of like pop out of like the side and then like Darth Vader's not there. Like it felt, I don't know if you guys have rewatched it yet, but the way like Obi-Wan just kind of like disappear and then pop out from one area. Like I felt like I couldn't track him through this gravel pit. I'm like, how is Darth Vader sneaking up on him? and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, he knows where he is at all times,
Especially
man.
with the bright light, like
Yeah.
He's following this guy like a hawk at this point.
Yeah.
Man. It's been 10 years. There's no way
Right.
He's just gonna like run away, and there's gonna be no confrontation.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of suspense, you got to break some rules
Exactly.
in reality.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you know.
it's not egregious. We're not talking like The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker levels of suspending disbelief.
whole another pot, right?
I cannot
whole
believe-
another pot.
Check out our sequel trilogy review, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's credit to them. That the thing that I can nitpick out of this scene is just
Right.
like they broke
Yeah.
a little bit of rules for suspense.
Yeah.
They blame some rules. This
You
show
know,
sucks.
especially Star Wars in 2022. That's like what I'm
Yeah.
nitpicking.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did great.
That must be a good time for a
Yeah.
Star Wars fan. Not like
Oh yeah.
my 112, whatever, 21 points of
Oh,
The
my
Last
gosh,
Jedi
yeah.
lists. Anyways, yeah, so that was obviously a beautiful confrontation. Did you guys buy the whole Obi-Wan getting away thing?
I was
Did
gonna ask that.
Okay, so what did you guys think about, like, obviously the flame went out, Vader talks to Stormtrooper, go get Obi, and then the ex-Imperial lady shoots the Stormtrooper and then shoots, like, another, like, barrel thing to make more fire in between them and Obi, and then she, like, the robot goes and picks him up. And so what did you think about, like, that whole them disengaging type thing and how, like, he got away?
I mean, he had to get away somehow, right? 'Cause,
Right.
I don't know. I wasn't as satisfied kind of with the way he got away. But again, you want to try and keep characters like Leia away from Vader, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So it had to happen one way or another. I am glad that just the scene where Vader's just standing there staring at the flames as his pretty much nemesis at this point is being carried away and protected by a droid,
Yeah.
I think that was just a beautiful shot, and they didn't overdo the shot either, because it did last a long time. And I'm curious, during that scene, what were you guys thinking or imagining like he was thinking as Obi-Wan was escaping?
I see. Part of me is like, this is kind of a weird and like cheap way to do it, but also part of me is like, Vader wanted to kind of keep him alive so he can suffer more instead of like going bullying his way through the fire and picking him up. I don't know though. Like I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth. Like there's part of me that's like he wants him to like go back and reflect on like what had happened and what Anakin was now and the pain that he experienced and just like really have it eat him. But I don't know if that really works here. I want to know what you guys think about that.
I was thinking Darth Vader and or his stormtroopers definitely could have walked around this spot. It took the droid like 2 minutes to pick this guy up. And so I'm thinking it's got to be intentional on Darth Vader's part.
Right.
So if it is, I wish they showed it a little more, because we're sitting there and it is a good scene where he's staring at him through the fire. But I can't tell if he's thinking like, yeah, go away, Obi-Wan. I'm gonna be following you. Like, be scared. Or if they were just like cheap, like let's get Obi-Wan away kind of thing.
Right.
Because they definitely could have gotten him. The bonfire was only like 20 feet wide.
Right, especially with the Force, like honestly, it wouldn't.
Oh, he could have pulled him through.
Yeah,
Pulled him through again.
Come on, now.
Ready for round 2, Obi?
Exactly. So I mean, it's got to be intentional, but I wish they maybe showed that a little more.
What'd you want him to do? Throw like a rock at him as he's getting away, like he's an earthbender, just like pluck Obi-Wan in the back of the head, like
Are you
I'll get
kidding
you.
me?
I'm gonna get you, buddy.
I wanted some Jedi Fallen Order sort of stuff
yes.
going on.
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh,
whole
yeah.
world starts bending.
Oh yeah. Oh heck yeah.
I mean, but honestly though, I agree with Cody in the sense that the story has to continue, because it could have ended there. Obi-Wan gets captured. The rest of Obi-Wan is just Darth Vader torturing him. That's the next 3 episodes.
I would have watched that.
Honestly,
But I mean, whatchamacallit? So the story had to continue. So I'm okay with the fact that he got away. The fact that Darth Vader sent a stormtrooper, rather than walking over to pick him up, was a little wacky. Overall, I guess I'm satisfied with it. In regards of the ending shot where he's sort of standing there looking at him, I like the idea that like we know what he's thinking, and it's that he got away. It's intentional. He's thinking I got him where I have him where I want him. But sometimes in a show, it shouldn't be the audience's responsibility to come up with that sort of stuff.
That's
Right.
very
When
true.
there's plot holes and stuff like that, it
So
should
true.
not be the audience's job to think through it. To
No.
be like, oh, this actually works because of this.
Yeah.
No, the show should show that.
Exactly.
Or like
You
what
know.
some people, especially with the sequels, I go back because I made this point in our sequel podcast. Also, like the source material should be able to stand on its own. You shouldn't have to like go back and like retroactively write a book about like
Yeah.
the show or movie and be like, oh, let me explain this away for you. That's it should be able to kind of
Yeah.
make enough sense on its own. I agree with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. The only times that I see that usually work is when a show either it works in the scene, like the audience's creativity is sort of pushing the scene, or B, when there's a whole bunch, like Lord of the Rings, for example, when there's a whole bunch of books behind it that were created beforehand,
Yeah, it's
in
pre-existing.
which
Yeah.
or like Dune, for instance.
Yeah.
If you read the book Dune, then the movie makes so much more sense, and you can fill in a lot of stuff. You know, I think those are the two situations where it works. Which,
Right. I do kind of have a question for you guys. So you guys keep talking about how it's kind of lame how he had the stormtrooper go after Obi-Wan. Do you guys think there's a small part of him that's still a little afraid of Obi-Wan?
I was gonna ask
Huh.
that.
that's a good question.
Or like at least a small part of him that's like,
A little cautious,
Yeah,
you know?
hold off
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I don't know about that after their confrontation. It might have been more of a humiliating thing. I could totally see Vader just sending a stormtrooper like, you're not even worth my time for me to pick you up.
That's fair. I was also thinking that as well. But I mean, like, it could be an act on Obi-Wan as far as Vader knows. Obviously, he can sense in the Force that he's not very strong
Right.
anymore.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess it would make more sense of him just being like, you're dirt to me. You're not worth my time for me to even pick up myself, I guess.
Right.
maybe he's got the mindset like too easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little.
Hold on.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you know. But I was also wondering that because it's like,
But you also can't snipe Vader.
true.
You know what
true.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like
True.
that's
Very good
plot
point.
armor.
Well, Anakin's very good at getting pissed off. So I don't, you know, I was thinking maybe, but I don't think he's holding back. I think he was like, let's make this torture.
Yeah.
You know? Like the past 10 years have maybe been torturous for me or whatever, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And maybe he's trying to think, how can I hurt him more? Because of, you know, he kind of blames Obi-Wan for Padme and all this, and like he was hurt more than just, you know, getting limbs cut off and burnt. you
Yeah,
know? And
yeah.
He's like, this is too easy. This isn't mean enough. You know.
Right. Yeah. You have any thoughts, or do you want to move on to the ending of the episode?
No, I like everything that was being said. I guess just one more thing to tack on to, which one of my roommates actually brought up, which I thought was a really interesting connection, was just after all this time, Darth Vader's pretty much only goal right now is to get Obi-Wan, right? Like in the episode, we see Obi-Wan talking to Reva saying, make Obi-Wan your number one priority right now. And it's just interesting because the exact same thing happened in Clone Wars / Star Wars Rebels with Darth Maul. The exact same thing happened. Obi-Wan cut him in half, and then the entire time, Darth Maul is just so obsessed with Obi-Wan and getting revenge, which I thought was a really interesting connection.
He's living in these guys' heads.
Exactly. Like,
Rent free.
their hatred just drives them, and it's all directed towards Obi-Wan.
Well, it's because Obi-Wan is living like, well, he was like this light side thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously had failures, but he's living it right, and he kind of maybe starts to tear down some of the philosophy of like dark side's better a little bit, and I think it might bother these guys a little bit. You know what I mean? And so they want to end that ideology as quickly as they can too. I think.
Sure.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he stands for everything they don't.
Exactly.
And not just that, but he's sort of like a sort of progressive Jedi in the
Right.
sense that he also sort of recognizes the flaws
Right.
of all that when it was going on.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Like that's more Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
Definitely
Qui-Gon
more
is definitely
Qui-Gon.
more-
I mean,
they-
definitely more Qui-Gon.
Speaking of Qui-Gon.
Hold on. Before we get to
Okay.
this, my thing with Obi-Wan is like think about just him as like a power level character, right? Like how strong he is. There's a lot of like content out there that's like he was one of the weakest Jedi. Like he was not very strong in the Force. Like he was like very disciplined. He worked really hard. He trained himself really well. And when you think about like the ideology of the Sith, they're like power.
Yeah.
we're always trying to, and so like to be beat by like one of the least of the Jedi Orders got to be humiliating for them. You know what I mean? Because like think about Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan. Even in Attack of the Clones, he's like, yeah, I'm stronger than him. I'm a better bladesmith than Master Yoda. Like this is Anakin's mentality. So to be beat by that, you got to be pissed. You're just like it's like getting beat by like you're playing Call of Duty and like a 6-year-old just guns you. You know what I mean? And then you're like, dude, I am way better than you, and you beat me. I'm going to make you feel that like I am better than you.
Right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
what Mark thinks whenever
No,
he
I'm
plays
serious.
COD.
That's literally what it is. But they're not gonna mean Chief.
Well,
But
and-
like that's kind of the mentality I would think that Maul and like Maul like kind of had his life taken away by Obi-Wan because
Very
of his
true.
failure too. And same thing with Anakin.
And Obi-Wan takes that idea of it's not all about power to like the extreme when they have their final meeting when Darth Vader strikes him down. He's like, you're gonna know real power if you strike me down right now. It's because Obi-Wan's got that he has that figured out in his head that these Sith guys don't figure out, which is like it's not about that raw power. And you kind of see in these episodes him learning that, and that's why I hope they get some Qui-Gon action in on these episodes. You know what I mean?
I mean, we're gonna get a Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
At some point. Okay, let's move to the end of the episode, then we can talk about like the future of the series. So the end of the episode, obviously the ex-Imperial lady goes to help Obi-Wan, tells Leia to go on her own, and then Leia goes on her own. Reva just finds this secret passage because reasons, and then she finds Leia, and then she basically kidnaps Leia. And so there's a few issues for me with that. One, Reva feels like a Batman villain, and I can't get that out of my head. Just the way she talks and her cadence, I don't think it works for Star Wars.
No.
And I know she's a really good actress, but she's not like, from what I understand, she hasn't really watched a lot of Star Wars, isn't like necessarily a Star Wars fan. So I think there's kind of a disconnect there. So her performance is like not like lining up or working as well for Star Wars. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, like I said earlier, we're using Leia now because obviously she kidnapped Leia, and Obi-Wan's gonna have to go get Leia. We're using Leia's kind of side mission and to more progress Reva's story, which again I don't care about. I really want the Obi-Wan Vader stuff. So what are your guys' thoughts about that that part of the end of the episode, and kind of I guess what's probably going to be in the next episode?
I think they're just trying too hard to establish like this. Leia already knows Obi-Wan. That's why she's like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope, And so obviously this is like them cementing. In my mind, they could totally surprise me, but that this side quest with Obi-Wan is going to go further. And so that was a little disappointing for me.
So I guess Reva is pretty much Rey in this show. The way she just
Dark side Batman villain, right?
naturally
Pretty
better
much.
than everyone else.
yeah, like what? How did she just find the end of this tunnel so quickly and get there before even Leia got there too? Like,
what?
Don't tell me the Force. The Force makes sense. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Oh,
man, that really, like, I would have been fine with maybe Leia finding, the captain was gunned down, like, after, like, a battle with the stormtroopers or something, something like that. That would have been like, okay, that's believable, like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be at this post. You shouldn't be flying off the planet yet. That would be okay.
Right.
But just Reva just being there all of a sudden, when she just barely found the tunnel, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Like, how'd she find this thing?
Yeah. She got, like you said, she got past her something.
Yeah, like how?
Like this secret tunnel, it's not like she's like, oh, I know where this lets out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I didn't know, were there two entrances to it? Or, like,
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
okay, I would have believed it if, like, she had gone through that same tunnel, maybe when she was trying to escape as a Padawan, they had, like, a quick flashback where she knew where it would end up.
Yeah.
That would actually make some sense.
Yeah.
But no, she just randomly finds all of the latches and buttons to open the door and find the tunnel, and she knows exactly where it leads.
In time to kill that guy.
Yeah, in time to kill the guy
Yeah,
before Leia even gets there.
That's very true, and it's kind of one of the worries that I have with this show that I'm worried is going to happen. Me and my roommates all sort of share this, and it's just that one of the ways that they could really mess this show up is obviously they've established Reva as a very powerful character, which, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of, but it's all right. The issue comes in is if there's going to be a situation where they make her more powerful than Darth Vader in some sense.
Oh.
That's how they could ruin the show. And it's just like, or even in the sense that, let's say she does something that Darth Vader doesn't like, and Darth Vader says something like, you've forgotten where your place is. Just like a line like that
Ugh.
would be terrible because it just shows it would just ruin it, you know.
Oh yeah.
Just because
She has to fear Vader more.
she has to fear Vader.
more
Yeah.
than she wants, like, whatever she's doing.
And Vader would obviously in a situation where where she's disappointed him, you know, cut
she's
out.
done.
She's done for.
She's gone.
And so just any way where they would undermine Vader's power or raise her above him in some way. And just seeing this tunnel scene sort of got me fearful of that a little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
You kind of given me an idea of like best case scenario with Reva's story arc is she pisses off Vader and he like no remorse
Yeah.
just kills her.
Yeah.
I
That's what we
would,
talked about in our last episode.
no, yeah. I would love to see that. I'm
That-
fine with that.
I don't know if Disney will do that, though, because they're making it so much about her. And I like the only way I can see it, I think we explained this last episode, is basically like Vader uses Reva as a way to kind of hurt Obi-Wan more,
Yeah,
where it's like,
yeah.
oh, look at this fallen Jedi, I don't care about her either. And this is what, like, you know, this is a master-apprentice relationship, and we had a master-apprentice relationship. This is what you did, and this is what you're causing.
Mhm.
Like, that's the
Yeah.
only way I could see it working out positively for the show.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I think it's kind of undermining Vader, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
Mhm. You think that would even get to Obi-Wan though? Like him seeing like, look what you did to me, I'm gonna do this to Reva. Like she bad news. Do you think he'd care?
I mean, and ultimately,
Yeah, so we actually
Probably.
talked about like it would be really nice to try and see Obi-Wan try and reach out to her
Mm.
to try and help her
Mm.
come back to the light,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
and then that would just be a better payoff watching her die, you know.
Yeah.
like, reject him again and him fail again.
Yeah.
So, like, what
Yeah.
if they're like standing there in the throne room and he's like, no, don't do this. Like, look what it did to Anakin, or you know something. And then she's just like, no, and then she dies because of it, because of her decision. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be cool, but I don't know if Disney would
It
kill
would
off
be
one of their
cool.
like new shiny toy characters. You know what I mean?
And I mean, sort of going off the idea that maybe Obi-Wan will reach out, bring her back. That would be really cool. And I don't know if you guys have played Jedi Fallen Order, but
I have.
spoilers for that.
Oh,
That's
no.
kind of the same plot of
Yes,
Jedi
I mean,
Fallen Order.
Yeah.
good
You know.
point.
Kinda, yeah.
It would be reusing a plot a little bit. Not that they're necessarily related, because one was, you know,
Hey,
a
Star
video
Wars
game
likes
by
to reuse
EA,
plots,
but
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
they-
mean, Star Wars is Star Wars.
I
you
mean,
know?
not everyone's played that. I mean, I don't think it'd be the worst thing, you know.
That's true.
It's not like doing Empire again, Ryan Johnson, JJ, Force Awakens, New Hope. It's not like that bad, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like common themes, but
Sure.
but I don't think they do that is the problem. Like, I hope you, like, kind of my point is they obviously are investing a lot in this Reva character, and especially the way they've like treated her in terms of like going on like tours and stuff, and like
Yeah,
press like meetings. It's like Ewan, Hayden, and Moses Ingram, which is like, it's kind of really weird to me that they're putting them, all three of them, in that same category.
Right.
Obviously, to most fans, Reva's just like 2 or 3 obviously like 3-4 notches below. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
So I think there's kind of a disconnect there between the fans and Disney.
Mm.
And you brought up a good point with just back a little bit. She bothered me, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. And it is like the way she carries herself. Like she is a good actress. Like I'll give her that for sure. But like it just doesn't feel like it fits. And in this galaxy. And I think you're right. It's because she hasn't watched the movies or whatever, which, you know, I'm not going to go and just, you know, write someone off because they haven't watched the movies, but they need to do their due diligence and like understand
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
carry themselves in that role. And it's just a little unfortunate.
Especially they're playing a character that already exists, you know.
Yeah,
And that's what really bothers me. If they have the source material there,
right.
they're just not willing to put in the effort, or maybe they just don't care enough,
Yeah.
you know.
Wait,
Yeah.
so what do you mean Reva exists before?
Before the show,
Was
before
she a
Kenobi.
thing?
The Inquisitors, yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
Inquisitors
Oh, you're
are-
talking
yeah.
about the Inquisitors.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general.
Sorry, yeah, not like
I thought it was like Reva, like she's the thing.
But
Yeah.
there probably was the third sister in the source material. I
Yeah.
know there's those Inquisitors in the Jedi Fallen Order. Even.
Right.
I forget which one, like ninth sisters.
Yeah,
I think it's like
Yeah,
ninth and
I
eighth,
think
right?
they're like
Something like
8th or
that.
something.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. I
But-
don't know. She probably exists already.
But I mean, like in Mandalorian, we see a character, an actor who does not like Star Wars, who played a great character,
Mhm.
and he made it work.
What are we talking about again?
Ah, I forgot his name. Redhead, kind of bald.
We're talking
Oh,
about, Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
Yeah,
Does he
yeah.
really not like Star Wars?
That's what I've heard. I've heard that he
I don't
hates Star
know.
Wars actually,
Really?
or he's just not a fan at least. You know.
Right.
I don't know.
He did
But,
a good job,
Yeah,
though.
his character arc was actually pretty decent, you
Yeah.
know, in the time that he was actually on screen.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it's not like they can't do it.
Yeah. Do you think it's easier maybe to play a more comedic relief actor like Bill Burr did than like a serious main actress?
I actually think it
Reva.
would be harder to play a comedian.
In Star Wars.
Yeah,
maybe.
because
Yeah, that's a good point.
because you feel like you don't want to overdo it
Right.
and just be annoying.
Yeah.
You want to find like that good balance. But when you're playing an Inquisitor who used to be a Jedi and is now kind of like haunting those same people that you used to believe in the same things as, I feel like it'd be really easy to even apply whatever you've been through in your own life to that kind of situation. You know, like what if I were hunting, like say she is religious, you know, what if I were hunting the same people that go to church with me, you know?
Mhm.
Or maybe she's like super into like a sports team.
Mhm.
What if I just like did a 180 and started hating on those people, you know?
Mhm.
Like
Right.
I feel like
If I
it's
became a
very
fan
easy.
of like the other team.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know, like it's very easy. I feel like to be able to pull from your own life experience to be
Yeah.
able to apply it to this character.
That's a good point.
But she just overdoes it,
Yeah.
oversells it, and like you said, she's like a Batman villain.
She'd be good in this, like Robert Pattinson Batman.
Dude, yeah,
Like as a
yeah.
villain, I'd love to see her there. But yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just doesn't fit.
No,
I don't know.
doesn't fit. But like, yeah, I think Bill Burr did good. I think like in some ways it's easier, but like you know, for his character, he's just a bounty hunter. Like a side character's not as important, and
Yeah,
obviously
that's true, that's
they're
true.
they're projecting her to be like a pretty like pillar character, especially in this show. Like they're putting her on the same level as like Hayden and Ewan.
Yeah.
Which if you're gonna do that, you have to knock it out of the park. You can't be like awkward. You can't be a Batman villain if you're a bad bad person in the show.
Do you think that's why she's kind of overselling, just because she has that much pressure to be up there with Hayden and Ewan?
I don't know about that. I just don't think she necessarily understands how to act in Star Wars. You know what I mean? I think that's what it comes down to.
I could see that though. Like she is kind of being put on this level with these
Yeah.
guys. And I mean, heaven knows I wouldn't do a good job.
Yeah, like, we're sitting here like we're the greatest actors ever.
We're like smoking our like pipes, like why I would do such a better job as an inquisitor. You know, but
man.
yeah, I guess that's our kind of Reva talk. But anything else you guys want to add? I guess going into the future, we're probably gonna get an episode with Obi-Wan trying to save Leia from Reva, and there's probably gonna be some interactions between Obi-Wan and Reva. And that might be kind of interesting, but do you want to see that, or do you wish the show would kind of go in a different direction?
I definitely want the last episodes, like, I would like the Leia to end next episode, because I want the
Please.
last 2 episodes to strictly be Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Like, ideal situation for the last episode for me is it's just Darth Vader and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like, we have no other side characters. We're just seeing stuff between them. Like, I mean, a way they could ruin it is they got Reva coming in with her spinny lightsaber, Star Wars Rebels style, flying in.
Oh my gosh.
Filleting the air.
Yeah. Coming down in
man.
while they're fighting or something.
Looks like a cartoon.
Nah, that
Looks
won't
like a
happen.
Batman villain after that.
Coming,
like,
coming
yeah.
down in like
Just like
Mary
some
Poppins.
like gadget, yeah, like Mary Poppins style. Like, oh.
No, that won't happen. But I do
I hope
hope that we just get a lot more of the Obi-Wan Darth Vader dynamic coming in. A more strong focus.
Where do they go from here then? Because I could also see Disney being like, we did the conflict thing, we did the Darth Vader thing, pull back until the last 10 minutes of the last episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I want them to keep that pressure on the Obi-Wan
Yeah.
Darth Vader's
Yeah.
storyline. But, you know, they gave us a lot in this episode. And especially for Disney, I feel like they're like, okay, we compromised our values for this one. Let's hold back, you know?
All right, this Inquisitor chick nobody cares about.
Yeah.
It's like-
So where do you guys think, how are they going to keep Darth Vader in these next couple
Well,
episodes?
I don't know.
In my opinion, I don't think there's any reason to hold the suspense still. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
They've introduced Darth Vader. This is what we came to see.
Mhm.
Let's keep it going.
Mhm.
You know? So, I don't know. I'd love to see maybe in the next episode, Reva obviously kidnaps Leia. I imagine that she'll go to some ship with her, with Darth Vader there,
Mhm.
and we'll get some more Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader on the ship.
So you think they're gonna put Vader and Leia in the same thing?
Oh, that's a good question.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Well, they
I'm
might
not
keep
sure.
teasing this like, oh, they're close to each other, but they're not quite.
That'd be so
Like maybe
annoying.
he
It would
doesn't
be.
know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, and I know they've met in A New Hope, and he didn't really get that sense. But
Sure.
That's
you know,
true.
like,
That's
do
a
you
good point.
like maybe she'll go off on her own, and then maybe he'll go off on
You
his
know,
own, and then you see the relationship between Vader and Reva.
knowing Leia
maybe.
right now, she'll probably escape.
She kills Reva.
That'd be the most base thing you could do, Disney. Do it. She just like
probably-
slips something in like Reva's drink or something.
Hey, Kimmy, we're gonna get another Leia chase scene on the ship.
Oh
and
my
Reva's gonna be
gosh.
chasing her, but not just that. Reva's gonna run into a tree branch, sticking out of the ship.
It's
my
like Home
gosh.
Alone all of a sudden.
Like quicksand or something.
Oh man.
Home Alone.
Yeah, it's Home Alone.
She's setting up little traps, and Lola's like helping her with those. And you know the thing
Leia
that
just
makes
holds a door back.
the thing that upsets me about that Lola thing is like they just made that to sell toys.
Oh, they always
Oh,
do,
yeah,
man.
of course,
Oh,
yeah.
It's like, where's our obligatory droid to sell toys in this
Yeah.
show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh
hate
yeah.
That annoys me.
Man.
Man.
But yeah, guys, I think that's gonna kind of take us to the end of the episode. Before we go, out of 10 rating, what would you guys rate this episode? I'm gonna start with you, Reed.
Dang.
Give me a rating out of 10.
Man, I have to take my expectations into account when I give it a rating
Right.
because I did not expect it to be as I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. So I think I'm gonna give it like honestly, this might be high for you guys. I'm gonna say an 8. I dug it. I loved it, and that again, that's down to just a couple scenes. But there were scenes that like I've been wanting to see for like a decade. So
Like longer, you've been waiting longer from Revenge of the Sith till now than the time jump in
exactly.
Yeah.
this show,
Yeah,
like
for
the 10
real,
years.
for
So yeah,
real.
no, I get that.
Yeah, 8. Honestly, if I think about it harder, I might rate it higher. So I gotta stop talking.
Yeah, shut up, Reed. No, I'm just kidding. I'd probably give it a 9.
Dang. All right.
I do think it was a really good episode. Part of me is giving it a 9 because Perfect is like, this could have been a 10 if we had avoided maybe the Reva stuff.
Mhm.
And maybe like the beginning half kind of in a way dragged a little bit. If they had kind of condensed that into like a shorter part of the episode, it would have been a 10 because like basically from Vader on, that's a 10. Right? From Vader, Obi-Wan's interaction, that's all a 10. It's just the stuff kind of around it I had a little bit of issues with. Like I liked some of it, but like it's not, the Mustafar, scene.
Yeah.
So like that, or the way I put it, a 10 is like the Darth Vader hallway scene in Rogue One.
Yeah.
I am your
Yeah.
father in Empire. Like those are 10. So I'm gonna give it a 9 here.
Nice.
I'm actually gonna give you. I'm gonna give it a 9. For a different reason though. I actually surprisingly was pretty happy with the interaction with Obi-Wan and Leia while they were on that ship, and just the backstory kind of gave with Obi-Wan, and just I don't know that connection that they were able to create with each other. It was actually really really well. I wasn't as annoyed with Leia, but the only reason why I give it a 9 is just that Reva thing really bothered me. I really don't want another Rey. I'm tired of these. Oh, they're strong because we said so.
Yeah.
The Mary Sue, the Gary Stu.
Yeah, the Mary Sue. Yeah, I'm tired of it, But yeah, it was a great episode. I loved Darth Vader, and also, James Earl Jones coming back to
I know.
voice Darth Vader.
Yeah.
James and Hayden.
Yeah, man, like
James
that's
Hayden.
great. So 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Nice.
Gotta agree. This is what I would say. I would say Obi-Wan Darth Vader parts 10. Everything else probably like an 8. Just because I give the Darth Vader Obi-Wan a 10 because I think there were some really iconic moments. Like just the moment when Obi-Wan's looking through the door, sees Darth Vader. Iconic moment in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
They first start fighting each other. He drags him through the fire. I think that's an iconic moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they got some really good moments in there that are worth a 10, but the rest was an 8, probably.
Okay. So what was your overall rating?
I guess a 9.
Yeah, like that's kind of
That's-
what you have to kind of
that's-
like average it out a little
Yeah, I
bit.
guess that's
Yeah.
the in between there.
Yeah.
All right,
for
guys.
sure.
Well, the last thing, the most important question I have for you guys, like the most important thing of the episode or the series so far, which burn hurt worse? Obi-Wan in the fire or Owen Lars' burn on Obi-Wan saying, like he
Oh my
trained his father?
gosh.
Because Obi-Wan's been burned and not by the Tatooine sun.
Oh, yeah.
So which one was worse? We'll just go around the table. Jacob, we'll start with you this time. Just rapid fire. Which one was worse?
Are you kidding me? Owen's burn. Easy.
Yeah.
Owen Lars, 100%.
I got it.
Spitfire.
Yeah, I gotta go with Owen too.
I mean, Obi-Wan can hop in a back to tank all he wants, but that Owen Burn's going to be bouncing around in his head even when he's a Force ghost.
Right. He's like, dang, this little moisture farmer just burned me so hard, and I can never get rid of that.
For real.
The shame and the guilt. Okay, so I guess I'm glad we're in agreement
Yeah,
there.
for
But
sure.
guys,
Go
go
An
ahead.
even more important question though. Are you subscribed?
Hey,
Oh.
look at this guy.
Are you subscribed? Are you commenting? Are you sharing with your friends if you enjoyed this?
You know
if
what?
you're not, what's stopping you?
I'm
You
gonna
know?
I'm gonna go subscribe as soon as this episode's
You're not
over.
even
not
subscribed?
Really?
I'm just kidding. I am.
All right,
yeah,
we're going
I
to edit
heard
out
him-
all of his parts. So the whole episode.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare for
Yeah.
our brand new producer. Everyone, round of applause
Hey, good
once
job,
again for
Jacob.
Jacob.
I'm just here to take it to the next level.
We're
Yeah.
going to be having a lot more of him on the podcast and more regular content for you guys. So again, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. What's stopping you? It's the podcast you didn't know you needed. Special thank you to Reed.
Hey, thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
As always, Kody, Mark, thank you for listening. We're out.